throughout history, we've seen pictures that have come to define time periods. For instance, this picture that features a young man called Mbuisa Makubu carrying the lifeless body of Hector Peterson came to define the Soweto uprising of 1976 and the massacre that followed, and ultimately actually defined the entirety of the apartheid era. In much the same way, this headline in the New Vision newspaper in 1989 and this picture in the same newspaper in the same year came to define Uganda's fight against HIV and AIDS, and especially the savage manner in which it decimated its victims before it brought them down to their grave. And so by the same token, this picture will forever define Uganda's economic civil war, taken in March 2020 at State House when the president called members of his cabinet and was demonstrating to them how 2.6 kilograms of kawunga can be used to feed one person for 10 days. Even the ministers were quietly shocked behind their masks. Now think about this. Here is a president whose State House has a budget that is over 400 billion Uganda shillings every year. And when you take off the salaries and wages, it comes to about 377 billion every year. That means that he spends 1 billion shillings in excess of that every day on State House. So now here is a man on whom the taxpayers are lavishing 1 billion shillings every day. And yet he has the audacity to sit and tell those very people on whose backs he's riding how they should be distributing government kawunga and not using it wastefully. And guess what? That was the budget until the end of June of 2020. In the new budget, they have asked for an increment of 66%. That means if that is granted and if the budget is passed as it is, that means that State House will be spending $500,000 every day being lavished on this man. And yet he has the audacity to tell us how to be using the kawunga optimally. Now that shows that this economic civil war has reached its peak. The Indomitables have totally lost touch with anything that is of reality. Now they exist in their own reality. So how does Uganda's State House budget compare to other countries? I'll tell you this. Kenya spends the Uganda shillings equivalent of 210 billion shillings on their State House. That's just above half of what we spend. And yet their budget is at least 3 times bigger than ours. So they have a lot more money, but they spend much less on their president than poor Uganda does on our president. Now something has to give, because the space feeders no longer have any spaces to run to. They are being squeezed tightly into a corner, even as the government on their behalf takes big loans, which they are going to have to pay. And now they have to stand up and say it's about time that this war comes to an end. Now the economic civil war will not come to an end until the people of this country rise up and say we are tired of being nobodies no more in our own country. We are going to install a government that fits into our dreams and one that can work for us, rather than one that has been imposed on us by the previous administration. Now that has to happen because something has to give. We cannot continue at this rate any longer. There is no space left to run. Somehow we have to stand up and fight back and claim what is ours. My name is Joseph Kableta, and I'm asking you to reclaim our country